War never changes. Which do I sign up to be an agent? For king and country? Hell no. For the free Freddos. It takes a lot of skill to become an agent, which is why I got my license out of a cereal box. It takes blood, sweat, and tears. I had to play 007 Legends, damn it! But all that build-up leads to this moment. Inside of this package is my weapon of choice and my training gear. Let's open it up. Standard issue Walther PPK. Sick. And for my training gear... What the fuck is this? Well, you know what? This doesn't matter. What does matter is this weapon, because I can finally be paw repellent. Oh, whoops.
Please, sir, spare shillings.
The Super Nintendo is known for being one of the best consoles of all time, with classic games such as Super Mario World, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy III, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Kart, and many, many more. This console has some of the best gaming experiences known to man, with many companies wishing they could have even a quarter of the games the Super Nintendo has. But I'm sure that leaves all of you with one question. How do I kill a man? It's no surprise that SNES's bread and butter, in terms of games, was 2D platformers and RPGs. Yes, there was the occasional shoot 'em up and multiplayer games like Mario Kart, and of course fighting games with the likes of Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat, but other than that it was Mario. Or, well, Mario. But what if you thought you were too adult for this Mario crap? You want something more adult, something to make you go, oh, responsibilities? Well, do I have the games? Not for you. Now, when it comes to FPS games on console in the 90s, your mind probably immediately goes to GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, a revolutionary game for consoles at the time, a pioneer in split-screen multiplayer, having guns that need to reload, and full 3D models. But that was for the Nintendo 64. What about its older brother, the Super Nintendo? The Super Nintendo had 10 FPS games. Battle Clash, Super Scope 6, Terminator 2 the arcade game, Yoshi Safari, Tinstar, Faceball 2000, Spectre, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Super Noah's Ark 3D. These games all vary in terms of quality, but that's what I want to talk about today. Or at least I'm supposed to as training. I mean, come on. What do you think I'm going to do? Shoot myself in the The first of these games is Battle Clash, which I can't play. I'm going to get this out of the way now. I can't play Battle Clash, Super Scope 6, or Yoshi Safari. These games all require the Super Scope, which, I mean, come on now. Look at me. Do I look like I own one of these? But I do own a Wii U. So while I'll still comment on these games, my reviews won't be so in-depth as the other games. Battle Clash is a game that released in 1992, and it's your basic light gun game, but this time with characters that look ripped straight out of Street Fighter 2. Every level is just you versus a boss with little to no variety. Sometimes they move left and right, sometimes they move up and down, but it's the same gameplay through and through. Super Scope 6 released in 1992, and it's a minigame collection. It features 6 games. Blasterous A, Blasterous B, Type A and B, yes, there's 2 different games, Mole Patrol, which is 2 different games in it, and Laser Blazer. Type A, Intercept, Type B, Engage, and Type C, Confront. Blasterous A, it's Tetris. Of all games, why did this require the Super Scope? Was regular Tetris not dangerous enough? Oh fuck! That's square with 4 sides! Blasterous B Type A is just Puyo Puyo. I mean, seriously, look at these 2 games and tell me a difference. Well, this one has funny circles, and this one I can't play! Blasterous B Type B, it's the same thing. Mole Patrol is just a whack-a-mole game, but instead of using a hammer, instead you get to shoot these fuckers. Yeah! Take that, most little 1.5 foot bug-eyed spoons, eat 7mm of lead! Oh, wait, the TV's off. Laser Blazer Type A Intercept is just a basic light gun game like Battle Clash. It's almost like you're playing Star Fox at an angle. Laser Blazer Type B Engage is a first person game where you get to shoot down players, and honestly it reminds me a lot of Top Gun on NES. Laser Blazer Type C Confront is like you're playing Type B but now you're shooting aliens. To be honest, Super Scope 6 is definitely a game that should not require the Super Scope. I mean, almost every game here is similar to another game that doesn't require the Super Scope. But hey, maybe Yoshi's Safari will make good use of it, and this is definitely the most unique one so far. Now, gameplay wise, it's another light gun shooter, but now with the added spice of Mario going on a massacre. Yeah, Mario's just shooting enemies while riding Yoshi. You ain't seeing Princess Peach ever again. You wanna know why? Because you're fucking dead. You've been blown up by Mario's bazooka, ho-style spaghetti, doesn't matter because you're all gonna suffer because of it. The Goombas and Koopas won't know what hit them because they're not living to remember it either, and don't think for a second it's just Mario with an upgrade. The Koopalings have mechs now, they're not playing around anymore. But neither is Mario because he's strapped. He went to Compton, scared the gangsters away. He even got a new nickname. He's not Mario anymore, he's MC Fatass. Okay, I think we need to move on. In conclusion, the games that require the Super Scope probably shouldn't. I mean, don't get me wrong here. The idea of Yoshi Safari even existing has already checked another one off my bucket list. Oh. Hey. That was all of it. I can die happily now. When some of the games that require it are just knockoffs of already existing games, you can't exactly expect me to go, oh God, I shot the cube! That leaves us with Tinstar, Terminator 2 the arcade game, Faceball 2000, Spectre, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom and Super 3D Noah's Ark. Now, let's get started with a classic, shall we? Faceball 2000. Faceball 2000 actually released in 1987 for the Atari ST and later in 1991 got a port to the Game Boy. Yeah, you heard me right. No NES, PlayStation, hell even Sega Master System version. No. Game Boy version. Anyway, the SNES version released in 1992. The game is a basic FPS game and you play as, well, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think it's one of these yellow things, but I have no idea. Now, before we play, I'm sure you're probably looking at this controller and thinking, how does this even work? There's no joysticks, no touchpad, no nothing. But it does have a select button. Right, this is how all these games control. Use the up and down on the D-pad for movement, the left and right for turning the camera, and pretty simple. With some games like Doom and Wolfenstein even using the shoulder buttons to move left and right. Faceball 2000 uses the shoulder buttons to move the camera left and right, and that's mainly the controls for these games, and they're meh. Okay, I'm not gonna act like these controls are completely disgraceful and unplayable, but I'm not going to act like that these controls are great. It's just not that comfortable playing this game for long periods of time. It reminds me of Pac-Man Championship Edition on NES, how your thumb is rubbing against the D-pad back and forth, but luckily it doesn't hurt as much as due to the SNES D-pad being much softer as opposed to the NES D-pad. This also means that trying to be precise with your shots is almost impossible. People find it hard to be precise with the joystick, yet alone this mathematical symbol. The controls are made out of limitations of this controller. This controller was made with games like Super Mario World in mind, not Blood and Guts the video game, so the fact they made this control scheme at least work is impressive. But anyway, back to Faceball 2000. The game has two modes, Cyberzone and Arena. Cyberzone is a basic maze-like game. You go around this map shooting enemies until you've killed enough that the exit opens. The game is split into levels that progressively get harder, with each level stating what you're entering. Seattle, Vancouver, and Amsterdam. No! Anything but Amsterdam! Ah, who am I kidding? It's fine. Every level looks the same anyway. Your health is shown by this meter at the top by what seems to be different stages of addiction. Whenever you're dying, it says, have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
You arsehole! I'm British! We're the kings of sarcastic responses, you pillock! I'm gonna be honest, I stopped playing after the gremlins got introduced in Stage 5. These fuckers can just disappear and teleport and go invisible whenever they feel like it. Hopping into arena mode, it's more or less the same thing, nothing to really talk about here, all you have to do is kill enemies. The music is also really good and it kinda sounds like SimCity at some points. Personally, I can't wait to drive around at 70 miles an hour blaring this in a school zone. Oh, but officer, you don't understand, it was Faceball 2000. You hit 12 people. But it was Faceball 2000. Oh, well in that case you're free to go. And that was Faceball 2000, there's really nothing to talk about. It's not one of those games I can see myself playing for long periods of time, but definitely a game I can pop in and play and enjoy for 10 to 15 minutes from time to time. Terminator 2, the arcade game, no, not Terminator 2, Terminator 2. As the name suggests, this is just a port of Terminator 2 from the arcade, and unlike other games that are ports, there's really nothing to talk about here. The game's good, it's fun to play, good music, good controls as you can just use a D-pad to aim. It's just a fun game, though not a game I can see myself sitting down for hours to play, as this game was made for an arcade environment, so it's just made for short bursts of playtime anyway. Tinstar released in November 1994, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm pushing it calling this one an FPS game. I mean, come on now. Look, I can see my character. The game is 3 different level types: 2D side-scroller with a character move on its own when you aim, light shoot levels, and Mexican standoff levels. The game is split into days, with each day having 6 levels, with some levels ending in a boss fight, and maybe having a little mini-game at the end about shooting stars. You play as Tinstar, the new sheriff in the town of East Driftwood. The game itself is very simple. You just shoot bad guys in this Earthworm Jim look-alike world. Talking about the graphics, the game is very good looking and full of life. After each level you make a bit of money that can be spent on things like saving your game. Oh, I get to name my save? Okay, what's the most badass cowboy name I can think of? Purple. The gameplay is alright, you can aim with a D-pad, but you can also use the Super Scope and SNES mouse. The side-scrolling levels are fun, but can be a bit annoying at times due to the fact that Tinstar moves on his own and completely messes up your aim at times. The first-person sections, like in the bar, are fun, but they take a lot of memorization, and for some reason in the second level in the bar, you have to wait for this guy to start attacking this person, because if you shoot him before he starts attacking someone, then you lose health. The Mexican standoff levels just suck. They don't tell you what to do, and my first time was like, oh sick, wait, what do I do? Damn it! Okay, let's try that again. What do I do? Okay, one last try. It's almost impossible to hit this guy. The pointer simply doesn't move fast enough, and when it does, it's not precise enough, so pretty much, don't play it. Spectre, no, not Spectre, Spectre. Come on, keep up. Spectre released in 1994, and it's a port of a PC game of the same name. Spectre is a very simple game. It's just capture the flag. You play as a tank, and before each run you can pick your stats, and I'm just gonna say it now, just pick speed. With max speed, you can just go past every enemy. The goal is to pick up every flag in the level. It's just that. The game even has some light voice work, which must have sounded really impressive at the time. Game over. I should have taken my meds. The game has 4 different multiplayer modes. The first one, Arena, is just a free-for-all. Flag Rally is just a single player, except you're going against another player to collect the flags. Base Raid is literally just capture the flags, and Allied Attack is you going against the AI to collect flags. The music gives off this space vibe and is honestly quite nice. I could fall asleep listening to this, and then have nightmares about the game's graphics. Oh, good. I thought I was playing Spectre for a second. Oh god! Yeah, I had to mention it at some point. The game just looks unfinished. Saying the game has graphics is not true. It looks like Gmod when you don't have Half-Life 2 installed, and the so-called stage geometry is just shapes thrown in random places that don't really get in the way, as you can just roll right past them. And there is nothing of substance to this game. I was bored by level 8, and the fact that the best strategy is just max speed, making this game about tanks, which are known for being slow, and essentially turning it into a Sonic the Hedgehog game is like when an emulator has a fast forward button. I mean, is there anything else to talk about? There's a skip to level 10 on level 1, which I accidentally walked into during my first time playing, and it's fair to say I was a little confused.
Tank destroyed.
You did this. Right, now we can play a classic. Wolfenstein 3D. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I've never really sat down and properly played with Wolfenstein 3D. Now trust me, I've genuinely tried hard to give this game a fair chance. I first tried playing this game on Steam, and it's just not good on Steam. I just think the game has aged much worse than Doom in every way. I reckon it's a game that has just aged poorly, and with some modernization mods, it's probably really good. But back when I tried Wolfenstein 3D, I wasn't really into modding games outside of, say, Gmod and the odd Minecraft mod, but that's not important at the moment. Wolfenstein 3D released on the SNES in February of 1994 in Japan and North America in March of that year, with it releasing in Europe throughout the year. I'll talk about my review of this specific version in a second, because this was the first time I got to truly sit down and play Wolfenstein 3D, and oh my god, I love this for some reason. This version of Wolfenstein 3D is really enjoyable for me, probably because it just works as opposed to the Steam version, which, like I said, is not in good shape. However, that just happens with old PC games on new hardware. They just break, especially with the introduction of newer operating systems. But this version just simply works. Because of that, I've definitely been able to appreciate this more. Now, how about this version? Now, let's get this out of the way. The game is heavily censored, so it removes any sign of Nazi, probably to avoid the back of the box being plastered with Hitler shit. Now, while I don't think the removal of the swastika is a good idea, I mean, look at me, the game doesn't need it. However, considering the whole plot is fighting Nazis, I feel like that does remove part of what makes Wolfenstein, you know, Wolfenstein. But also considering Nintendo's more family-friendly image, it does make sense. Nintendo was known for censoring games on their console, with the most infamous example being Mortal Kombat, which infamously removed the blood and replaced it with sweat. Which, to be honest, is still pretty disgusting. In fact, arguably, it's more disgusting. Imagine cutting your finger open and instead of blood coming out, it's your own salty sweat. Now granted, the censorship isn't a problem, because you won't be able to see it. One issue with this version is definitely things at a distance. I mean, is BJ short-sighted or something? Anything 3 inches away is a blurry, pixelated mess, and it really makes it hard to tell what's an enemy and what's not at further distances. But granted, because of this game runs silky smooth, so you can slide around without any lag, and I mean slide around, because the movement doesn't feel tight enough. You definitely move way too fast, especially for the camera, because turning left and right takes a millennium. So pretty much if the enemy is behind you, just give up. You're not going to be able to kill them. You can watch a movie in the time it takes to turn around. Oh, come on! Oh, blimey, mate, come on, we don't have all day! Up, almost there.
Hello? Mr. White? We need to talk. Who is this? The name's Bond. James Bond.
Ah! Finally. Oh, son of a bitch! The SNES version also has exclusive weapons that were first only added in this version. These new weapons include a flamethrower and a rocket launcher. Overall, this port is amazing, and I've since gone back and played this more, and I fully intend on beating this game on the Super Nintendo, because it's just so good. Now on the other end of the spectrum, Doom on Super Nintendo. I don't even have a funny quip to say. This port just sucks. Doom on SNES released on September 1st, 1995 in North America, October 26, 1995 in Europe, and March 1st, 1996 in Japan. And I'm just gonna say this off the bat, don't ever play this version. Let's start with the menu. This shotgun looks like it was drawn on with crayon. Getting into the game, you might think it isn't too bad. The music's good and it's a far cry from the 32X version, but then you start moving and you realise this game is sluggish as all hell. If you thought the movement in Wolfenstein 3D was way too fast, then don't worry, because this game takes a crowbar to your knees. Visually, this version is terrible. You thought it was hard to see enemies in Wolfenstein 3D? Well, try playing Wolfenstein 3D with a baby throwing up on your TV, and then you'll experience what it's like playing Doom on Super Nintendo. And I'm serious, you can't see anything. It's just a hodgepodge of pixels. The game looks like it's glitching out. This version also runs like piss. It's dreadful. It's not frames per second, it's frames per minute. This game chugs like a fat kid. So if you want the game to run fine, I hope you like looking at walls for your entire play session. And that's not all. To help with optimizations, enemies don't face in any other direction than the players. That means enemies can just constantly attack the player, and pair that with sluggish controls, and it's bullshit. I tried beating the first chapter, and after finishing level 5, I gave up, because this is simply not fun. One positive I'll give this version is that while it doesn't include every level, all the levels are based on the PC version, unlike other ports which use the PS1 level layout, which was slightly altered to the PC version. This port is absolutely terrible, and I feel bad for anyone whose first experience with Doom was the SNES version. Is there anything else I can say about this version? The cartridge is red. That's about it. But that leaves us with one more game. Super 3D Noah's Ark. Wait, was that a sentence I just said, or was that just a mix of words? I actually can't tell. Super 3D Noah's Ark is one of the weirdest games I've played, with one of the weirdest stories behind it to boot. The story goes that id Software was frustrated with Nintendo's censorship of Wolfenstein 3D, and because of that they gave the engine to Wisdom Tree, a game company known for making Bible games for the NES. Now in reality, this is a complete lie. What actually happened is Wisdom Tree offered id very lucrative terms for the Wolfenstein 3D engine, which apparently had already outlived its usefulness, and according to some id Software employees, they had no problem with Nintendo. Now as stated, the company behind this game was Wisdom Tree, which is a company Nintendo has had issues with in the past back on the NES, and they would release unlicensed games for it. And they're back at it again here for Super 3D Noah's Ark. And it is the only unlicensed game for the Super Nintendo, which means to get it to work, you have to stick a game on top of Super 3D Noah's Ark like it's a Game Genie or something to avoid Nintendo's lockout chip, and the only place you could buy this game was Christian bookstores. Yeah, take that Nintendo, you can't sue God! I think. But now let's get into the actual game. The plot is very simple, as Noah is out on the Ark and the animals are acting up, so we have to calm them down. Now you're probably wondering, what do we shoot them with? A slingshot. Wouldn't that just make them angrier? Also, why are they attacking Noah to begin with? He's literally saving them, the ungrateful fucks. Noah should have left them there to die. It seems as well, there's only goats. Noah only took 2 of each animal. However, according to this game, Noah took 1,500 goats and told the rest of the animal kingdom to go fuck itself. Maybe that's why the goats are so angry, as he left all their friends to die. I didn't really play much of this because it's basically just Wolfenstein 3D. However, I find it to be much harder than Wolfenstein 3D because this game still has all the same issues as Wolfenstein 3D, but all the animals don't shoot projectiles, instead they run up to you, which might sound easier, but you still turn at the pace of a cashier checkout worker at Sainsbury's, so you might as well just give up. So that was every FPS game on the Super Nintendo, and I'll be honest, I was quite surprised with the quality of some of these games, for better and for worse. As I said, Wolfenstein 3D was very good, but Doom was dreadful. I mean, how did that even happen? They're made by the same people. And Super 3D Noah's Ark and Yoshi Safari has just confirmed that life will never be as good as those experiences. But hey, I think that's my training all finished. So I think it's time for my first mission. That was not exactly my best idea.